millions of dollars to charity every year. Um, this is not the type of an individual that would not hire somebody because of the color of their skin. And I think that's the issue that we really got here still in these United States is we've got this ethnic breakdown, we've got this stereotypical view, and that goes both ways, obviously. But I think when it comes to government and people in government, I mean, this has to change because there are people out there in all ethnic groups that have great ideas and love this country. And then there are those out there in both groups, white and minority, male, female, that have horrible ideas for this country, regardless of their race. And so that kind of leads me, into the next segment here is age of people also has some significance on this, but not as much as I thought. I really thought that the seniors in this particular poll, exit poll, would have been strongly, strongly voting for Obama based on the entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those types of things. I thought that in this demographic, sorry, is the 65 plus group out there that is in the retirement group. And I honestly thought that these people, based on Obama and his ads and his campaigning, would have scared these people into believing that Social Security was going to go away. Well, the reality is the 65 plus age bracket, 55% voted for Romney based on this New York Times exit poll. So that I thought was interesting. So I started thinking about that. I'm like, okay, well, I was wrong in my assumption there. So, excuse me. So why did this happen? Well, I started doing some thinking, a little bit of research, a little bit of soul searching, and this is what I came up with here. Well, the 65 plus group, as I see it, are the real patriot people from back in the day. These are people that saw some wars and things, the Vietnam War in particular, saw Americans dying for our ideals, for our country. And I believe that generation was, grew up within, a lot of them experienced the Reagan administration and some excellent conservative people like that. And those beliefs stuck with them. I also believe that the educational system back then was not heavily influenced by liberalism as it is today. Today it seems to me, from what I've seen and heard and read, is that a lot, particularly public schools, are very liberal based. You've got liberal teachers, you've got liberal administrators, you've got just complete liberalism all along, where everybody shares in everything, everybody's the same level. We don't give out trophies for excellence. Everybody gets a trophy. It's not fair if everybody doesn't get a trophy. And these are the kinds of things I think that are indoctrinated in our children as soon as they start school these days, or at least within the last 40 years or so. So I think for us conservatives, we got to be looking at that. We got to be looking at who's teaching our children. What are they teaching our children? And I can tell you, they're not teaching them a lot of good things. There was a college professor up there in Denver, Colorado, in Ward Churchill. And this guy was actually a college professor and telling his students that this country deserved the attacks that we got on 9/11, that our actions and things that we've done over the years prior to that we actually deserved those things happening to us. And that just blew me away. This is a person, six-figure year person, that's coming out and saying that this country is bad and we deserve what we got. Well, if that's coming out in college, it's got to be coming out in high school, middle school, even elementary types classes. I mean, so we've got to look at that, folks. Who's teaching our people, our children? What are they teaching our children? We got to be involved in this stuff. Okay. Remember that a lot of these groups are put together. The teachers union, they're all involved in that. That's a liberal group as well. So we got to get some conservatism, at least some representatives of conservatism, into the school system. Do we have conservative superintendents out there? Probably not very many. So again, we're indoctrinating our children, from the age of 5 or 6 to start seeing things in a socialistic standpoint rather than a patriotic freedom standpoint like I was when I went through school. So I think that's important. Who's teaching our children and what are they teaching our children? Okay. And as parents, I think it's important you ask them what they're learning. I think the average child comes home from school. Parents say, "How was your day?" They say, "Fine," and they start playing video games. Parents have no idea. Conservative parents have no idea what dogma was forced down their throats that day in school. And I'm not saying this is that all educational systems are like this, but I have heard testimonials about colleges in particular where you are actually looked down upon if you don't embrace liberal idealism. And in some cases, maybe even your grades might be reflected by that too. So we've got some real issues here to take care of, people, and this is one of them. We got to get some conservative values into our educational system, or this is never going to work. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to look at here, I think I want to explore better is the whole entitlement programs that we got going in this country. President Obama, and he's smart. I mean, he's a smart guy. He knows how to get people listening to him. He knows how to get people on his side. The best way that you can get people on your side is to tell everybody in every demographic that I'm going to take care of you. That's what Obama did in this last election, the election before. He's for everybody. If you're a single woman, I'm for you. If you're a gay man, I'm for you. If you're a Hispanic, I'm for you. If you're an Asian, I'm for you. If you're black, white, red, blue, green, I'm for you. And then he starts passing out treats, gifts to all his demographics. Well, what gifts are these? Well, when it comes to the women's side of the vote, he's talking about free prophylactics, birth control. I remember that woman that came out at the Democratic National Convention, standing up there in front of, essentially the world, because, they do watch our presidential debates and elections too, And there she is standing there in this huge auditorium, the world as her audience. And what does she talk about in this venue? Birth control. I mean, how embarrassing is that? Not only to me and others in the room that were watching it to me, and a lot of you out there, but that's an embarrassment to women everywhere as well. That this is a woman that was chosen to represent them in the Democratic National Convention, worldwide television, stating and showing the rest of the world and this country that the biggest issue and challenge for women in this country, and the most important thing in their mind, is free birth control. How embarrassing is that? I mean, I cannot believe that. There are actually ads that the Obama camp put out during the election that stated something to the effect of, vote for your lady parts. Vote for your lady parts. That in itself is disgusting. But that's the point I'm getting at, is Obama created these ads, and his cohorts created these ads that targeted all of these demographics to try to get them on their side. by promising things like this, making these outlandish promises to people that this country's economic platform we can't do it. I mean, the deficit in this country is $16 trillion. The federal government spends 10.4 billion with a B, $10.4 billion a day. That's what our federal government spends right now. And that's before the implementation of Obamacare and all the other garbage that he wants to ram down our throats by raising taxes. We can't afford it. If you just look at the numbers, it's very obvious right there. I've been studying these numbers for months. We cannot afford this stuff. But all these people that promises were made to by the Obama campaign and administration, do they really care if this country can't afford that or not? Doesn't seem like it to me. They voted for the gifts and the presents, which they're not going to see anyway, because if we go the route we're going, this whole country is going to go over the fiscal cliff, and no one's going to have anything. We're going to be starting over, folks. So all these campaign promises and this, that, and the other thing, and free health care, and I'm going to take care of you, and you can't do that with a bankrupt country. Excuse me. You can't do anything with a bankrupt country. If this country goes over that fiscal cliff, we're starting over again. It's like a business going bankrupt. It's the same thing. See, people don't look at this in the right way. They think that money from the government it's just always going to be there. There's always a supply. It's always going to be available. Don't have to worry about rationing it, budgeting it. Well, of course you have to. You got to look at your own finances. When you spend more than you take in, you're going to go bankrupt. Well, that's what this country does each and every year. I mean, here's a stat that really blow your mind right here. Okay, in 2011, the federal government total revenues were $2.3 trillion. That means the federal government took in $2.3 trillion from various taxes, income taxes, all those kinds of things. That very same year, the federal government spent $3.6 trillion. Took in $2.3 trillion with a T, spent $3.6 trillion with a T. That right there is a $1.3 trillion deficit in 1 year. 1 year. You know, folks, there is no such thing as a trillionaire anywhere in this world. There is not one person on the face of this planet that has elevated themselves to the level of trillionaire with a T. There are plenty of billionaires, but there are no trillionaires, at least at this point. Yet, this government, in 1 year, creates a deficit of $1.3 trillion. Why is that? Well, a lot of it is this entitlement spending that I've been kind of talking about and kind of getting around here. Okay? Entitlement spending in this country is absolutely unbelievable. Out of that $3.6 trillion spent in 2011, $1.3 trillion of that actually borrowed money. Okay? A lot of that from China, by the way. Out of that $3.6 trillion, $1.8 trillion of that was spent on federal entitlement programs. And that's everything. That's unemployment insurance, that's Medicare, Medicaid, all of the social programs like food, and free food in the schools for underprivileged children. Of course, this is Social Security. Anything that has to do with a federal entitlement, meaning I need something, I go to the government, they give it to me. That's an entitlement. food stamps are in there.